Welcome to this week's Astral weather report for September 15th through 20th. The theme for this next 6 days is emotional truth in the face of conflict. This is about exercising grace in the fire. So the themes are friction, crisis, but ultimately resilience. And the question you want to be with this week is, how can you use conflict and tension to transform? So this cycle might feel a little charged. There's a lot going on in the outer world, both here in the United States and everywhere in the world. So emotions are running high right now. Tensions are going to rise, and old wounds might be brought back to the surface in conversations. Entrepreneurs, you might notice some conflict in negotiations or partnerships, or even potentially your teams. Parents, you may notice kids testing boundaries a little extra this week. And ultimately, just as a leader in general, you might just sense a feeling of unease, right? You might attract some misunderstandings, sudden shifts in morale. The pressure to avoid conflict may collide with the need to address what's really going on. So the reason this is, the sun has moved into gate 6. This is the gate of friction. I like to call it the gate of diplomacy. It is about conflict. And the ways that this can show up in detriment is avoiding conflict. Conflict avoided is conflict multiplied, right? Joseph Campbell says the treasure you seek is in the cave you fear to enter. So a lot of times people avoid conflict just to keep the peace, and that will actually multiply the problems. So it's really important that you pay attention to this. Otherwise, the way this shows up is in passive aggressiveness with yourself, with others. Ultimately, it could become aggressiveness, and the greatest way to overcome the detriment of that is to practice and exercise graceful resolution. If you are not well equipped with conflict resolve strategies, just go do some research, right? Crucial conversations, crucial confrontations. I teach a tool called CPR that I first learned from that, kind of made my own. Demonstrate, see what is the conflict, what is the circumstance, what is the core problem? What is the problem, right? What is the pattern that you want to prevent from happening in the future? What do you believe the potential solutions to resolve that problem permanently are? What can we do together to resolve these problems? Exercise graceful resolution. The earth has moved into gate 36. It's the gate of crisis. Also love to call this one the gate of exploration. This can just lead to dramatization, like creating dramatization, making little problems massive. And it can create a lot of intensity. And ultimately, the big key here is to get curious, right? Explore, use this explorative energy rather than energy that causes you to explode, right? So my advice is, when things get heavy, it feels like a crisis, you're being presented with a problem, slow down, get in your breath, activate curiosity. I wonder, what are some potential solutions? Go for a walk, go move the energy. That's the key. Emotion, energy in motion. Energy is designed to get us to move, right? Fight, flight, freeze, fawn. So allow yourself, eyes and feet point forward on purpose, to utilize that energy in a direction. Go for a short walk, do some push-ups, maybe sit in stillness. What I want you to really pick up here is extend the gap between reaction and response. If you want to respond from a place of grace, it's proven that if you move yourself from the reaction that you feel emotionally, internally in your nervous system, the chances of you responding in a graceful way that creates an outcome that everyone benefits from, it really is about creating space. But in that space, move some of that energy. Use catharsis, go to the gym, go for a run, but just basically create space. I would say this week, definitely don't pretend you're fine, and don't be passive aggressive. And on the other side of that, don't over dramatize and become a victim and get yourself too wrapped up in stuff. There's a lot going on in the world. There's a lot of people hurting. There's a lot of people feeling the darkness. In order for you to be the light and serve the people when they need it the most, your friends, your family, your partners, it's important that you definitely get really clear that you're not okay when you're not, and find a way to communicate that in a great way. And when you know you're not okay, make sure to not turn it into a crisis, right? My friend Joe Polish says most people that believe they're experiencing crisis, it's because they haven't stepped back from the crisis. They see this big burning ball of fire and broke that crisis down into its subset of problems. compartmentalize every crisis into problems, and then take each of those problems and compartmentalize those into tasks, into solutions, into action steps you can take. And the overwhelm, the anxiety, the reactivity naturally dissolve. So I would also encourage you to not resist conflict, right? Conflict isn't a villain. It's not an enemy. Conflict is designed for us to solve problems. So see conflict as a growth agent. There is no pain, no stress, no pressure or conflict that has the ability to completely 100% be a problem you can't solve. And what I mean by that is, if you stay in curiosity, you can find a permanent solution to problems that maybe you've been avoiding forever. So see conflict as just fuel for your growth. Biggest thing, just pause, like I mentioned this week. Give yourself a little bit more space before responding. And when the emotions come up, they've proven this. You could go read studies on this. Most people, they have a very limited bandwidth of emotion. And what I mean by that is, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm angry, or I'm scared. You know, we have a lot more emotions than that. If you study the map of consciousness and study the emotional frequency scale, it has been put out there, well scientifically documented, studied, and proven by David Hawkins, author of Power versus Force, Letting Go, Transcending the Levels of Consciousness. You'll see there's a 0 to 1,000 frequency scale with a tremendous distinction between those frequencies, those states of consciousness. Each can be labeled as an emotion. But they've discovered that when you name it, you tame it. The moment that you get clear on the emotion you're experiencing, it reduces 80% of the stranglehold on your hormones, your nervous system, and reactivity that might be showing up in your behavior. So name it to tame it. And the key is, do not associate or identify as your emotions, right? We have a tendency when we're angry to say, I'm pissed off. When we're sad, I am sad. You do not wear a name tag and identify as that emotion expecting to create a higher result than that. Einstein said we can't solve a problem from the same state and condition it was created from. So just remember to label it part of me, right? You are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions. There's a part of you that experiences those sensations, and they show up to affect your breathing pattern, your thinking, and overall, your overall perception of life, right? Your worldview, your God view, your life view. So remember that. The moment that you name it, you tame it. Part of me is feeling anger. Part of me is feeling sadness. Part of me is feeling fear. As soon as you do that, it no longer has control over you. One of my favorite quotes is from Marcus Aurelius. It is time. Time for you to realize you have something inside of you more powerful and miraculous than the things that affect you and make you dance like a puppet. And the key behind that is the world outside of you and the world inside of you all have the ability to distract you away from the focus that you want, distract you away from the feelings, the embodiment you want to experience and share with the world. So if you can remember that you are not your thoughts, you are not your emotions, those are parts of you, and label them as such, it will reduce the feeling and ultimately the pressure of that conflict. Allow you to show up in a state of gratitude and resilience even when you're in the middle of the conflict. So just remember, everything in your life that might feel uncomfortable has the ability to strengthen you if you choose to see that it's happening for you and not to you. So if you want to grow your spiritual muscle this week, it's a great opportunity to embrace conflict, to embrace crisis, and ultimately find solutions that maybe have been waiting to be found for a long time, and you realize that they're right there waiting, but you've been avoiding. So conflict avoided is conflict multiplied. This is a great week. Be in your breath, show up, solve problems, and be the light for those that are in the dark. There's a lot of people hurting in this world at any given time, and you could be the answer to their prayers. So remember, you have endless power to influence with your energy, and this is a great opportunity this week to be the light. In the meantime, infinite love, y'all. Shine on. Bye for now.